What's up, friends? Hope you're doing well. Today we're gonna have another look into Kaspa. Currently, the whole crypto market is not treating the bulls very good, and in Kaspa it is the same. We basically have wiped out the April lows, which were a very significant low in Bitcoin and also in the whole crypto market. But Kaspa has corrected a lot more, and therefore we weren't able to hold them. And right now, of course, we want to know if that will continue to be the case, so that we are continuing to move to the downside, or if we are finding support and then move to the upside. So I would say let's get straight into this. So first of all, what we can see is that here from the top, from July 24, we are in a bearish trend. So we had some, let's call them scams. We had some scams in between. So where we got scammed here, that we thought like, okay, maybe this was already the bottom and now we are reverting. So let's check this out. So we can see here clearly that we have here the high, then we have low, then we have a lower high, but here, for example, and also a lower low, but then here we made a higher high. So that is then of course very tricky, because basically here we made a break of structure, we moved higher, but then we rolled over, but then higher low, but then also higher high, a lower high. Then yeah, we basically continued here, and that is basically the case here for the whole thing. So if you are taking out some lows and some highs that were scams, as we call them, we can see that we are clearly in a downward trend. And as I said, right now we would like to see, okay, if that will continue to be the case, and if this is continued to be the case, then how low can we go before we are moving back to the upside? And for that, we also have to take a look into the general market. You know that Bitcoin is leading the way. So if Bitcoin has another nasty drop, then Kaspa very, very likely will also do the same. And currently in Bitcoin, we are not very strong. Currently, we are testing here also the August lows that we had, and we are below the 112k level. You know that what that means. That means we are very cautious, because that means that altcoins in general and the general market is bearish, and therefore also we have a lower likelihood that support levels will be held, but instead that they are gonna break. And that is exactly the state where we are currently in. We have one more support in Bitcoin right here that potentially gives us a bounce, but I have to say that currently Bitcoin is not looking very strong. We also have to remember that according to the 4-year cycle, this one right here would have triggered the bear market. So if we are continuing to believe in the 4-year cycle, that would mean that the bear market has just started. So keep that in mind. But also, if we are taking a look into the liquidation history, that is what I have talked about in the last videos, then we can see that we of course have a very low likelihood that after a liquidation this actually is leading to a bear market. We also have to see that this is a special case if we want to count in the 4-year cycle. But if we're completely going with the likelihood of a liquidation event, then the likelihood is just 10% that this is leading to a bear market, but 80% likelihood that with this bounce, and that's also why I've mentioned it in the last updates, that a V shape is also a very low likelihood. The highest likelihood is that we are having another moving around right here, that we are already doing a new low is not the best sign, to be honest. Normally what we want to see, or in order that the moving around right here will not be so long, we normally would like to see something like this, where we slowly grind lower, maybe do another low, so something like this one right here, but later and then we are finding a bottom, and then we are moving back to the upside. So that is the ideal scenario, and then it would be possible that this correction would just continues for another 2-3 weeks. You know, in the worst case, it also can be months that we are talking about, where we are correcting, bouncing around, moving a little bit to the upside, then back to the downside. So that is the highest likelihood currently. And because we already have seen a new low, there is definitely the potential that we are making another move to the downside, breaking also the August lows. And therefore, if we would go back to Kaspa, you can see right here the red line that I've marked on the chart. This is basically, yeah, the level from 2023 before we did the breakout. You can see we have tested it multiple times, but then we broke through it, and then, yeah, we made a very nice move to the upside. And right now we are, yeah, this is basically the last support level that we have right here. The next significant one would be right here. So at pretty exactly 4 pennies. And that would be another, let's quickly have a look at this. This would be another 22, 23% drop if we are breaking this support level right here. And of course also if Bitcoin is not able to get some strength and to bounce from this support level that we have right here. So that is why I'm currently keeping an eye on Bitcoin, but also in general in Kaspa and also in every other crypto. I'm currently being very cautious. You could argue that right now that this is a very good entry, because this is basically the low that we have made on April. And you could argue about this point, yes, I totally agree. But for me, because Bitcoin is below the 112k level and we have so many warning signs that I've just pointed out in this video, I'm being cautious, and I like it more to buy with conviction, and where we can see, okay, it's also likely that we are getting a bounce. It's also likely that this one really is the bottom, and then afterwards, if I'm buying now and then it breaks down another 20%, so that is of course something that I like to avoid, and therefore currently I'm being cautious. And in the end, I have to say that the likelihood currently is to the downside, so we just have to accept this, even if that's not so nice for our holdings. But the likelihood currently is to the downside, at least a consolidation of, as I said, 2 to 3 weeks, potentially even some months. That is currently where the highest likelihood is. That is why I'm being cautious, and that is why currently I'm keeping a closer eye on Bitcoin to see what Bitcoin does, because if we are seeing some strength there, very likely altcoins are about to follow a little bit later. And of course, guys, as always, if there are any updates, I will upload a new video, so make sure to subscribe to this channel, and also feel free to let me know what your opinion is. Do you buy at these levels, or are you also being cautious? Yeah, feel free to let me know in the comments. That's it for this video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.